Thank you, brothers and sisters, for joining me for another video. I just want to take a moment to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for following me and continuing to watch my videos. This is not a fantastic channel. The information is wonderful because it's Elohim's information. It's the words of God. It has nothing to do with me. I'm just a person. I don't even have a laptop. I don't have a computer. I'm using an Android phone. Every single video that's on this channel is through a phone. So I don't even have a computer. I don't have a laptop. This is a poor man's version of a YouTube channel. I've been offered to do, put commercials like a lot of people do, and they have that right to get paid. Maybe they need money for their time. But I promised everyone on YouTube that I would never have commercials on my channel, and I meant it. There's not going to be any commercials on my channel because I'm not out for myself. I'm not saying anyone who does is out for themselves. I'm just saying me personally, I'm not out for that. I'm here just to help people. That's what this channel's about. That's it. That's why I put the information out there. You can hate me, you can love me. I'm putting it out there because I care about you. I do. All of you. Love me or hate me. So, thank you. Thank you. All of you. Let us begin. What does the Tanakh, the Hebrew Scriptures, teach about prayers? Let's take a look. We're going to first look at 2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 27. Because you, Yehovah of hosts, the Elohei of Yisrael, have revealed to your servant that you will build a house for him, your servant has ventured to offer this prayer, hatifilah, that's how you say prayer, to you. David offers a prayer to Yehovah for allowing a descendant of his to build a house for our Elohim. We look at 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 28, verse 29, write these down, verse 38, verse 45, verse 49, and verse 54. Starting in verse 28, it says, Yet turn, Yehovah, my Elohei, to the prayer, tefillat, and supplication of your servant, and hear the cry of prayer, hatifilah, which your servant offers, is praying, meaning it's praying, mitpalel, before you this day. Verse 29, may your eyes be open day and night towards this house, meaning the temple, toward the place of which you have said, my name shall abide there. You may heed the prayers, hatifilah, which your servant will offer, yitpalel, toward this place. Verse 37, so too, if there is a famine in the land, if there is a pestilence, blight, mildew, locusts, or caterpillars, or if an enemy oppresses them in any of the settlements of the land, in any plague, and in any disease. Verse 38, in any prayer, tefillah, or supplication offered by any person among all your people Israel, each of whom knows his own affliction, when he spreads his palms towards this house in prayer. This is why every Jew, every Israelite, always directs his prayer towards the temple, because that's exactly what we're commanded to do. Verse 40, so that they may revere you all the days that they live on the land that you gave to our fathers. Verse 41, or if a stranger who is not of your people Israel comes from a distant land for the sake of your name. These are the servants, the non-Israelites. For they shall hear about your great name and your mighty hand and your outstretched arm. When he comes to pray toward this house, O hear in your heavenly abode and grant all that the foreigner or the stranger asks you for. Thus all the peoples, not just Israelites, all the peoples of the earth will know your name and revere you, as does your people Israel. And they will recognize that this is the people, not Israelites, non-Israelites, that your name is attached to this house that I have built. The focus of worship was never just for Israel. The strangers, the ger, are welcome to join the covenant. Okay? This is something that a lot of others in other sects don't believe. Verse 44, when your people take the field against their enemy, by whatever may you send them, And they pray, Vahit Palu, that's how you say in Hebrew, to Yehovah in the direction of the city, which you have chosen, and of the house which I have built in your name. Oh, hear, verse 45, oh, hear in heaven their prayer and supplication, and uphold their cause. When they sin against you, for there is no man who does not sin, and you are angry with them, and deliver them to the enemy, and their captors carry them off to the enemy land, near or far. And then they take it to heart in the land to which they have been carried off. Meaning if Israelites or the strangers get taken out of the land somewhere far away, or there is no temple, and they're far away, he's going to tell you to point and to direct your prayer towards this land. Okay? In that direction. This is in verse 48. The same thing is mentioned in verse 54. But now we're going to take a look at another example. We're going to look at Aleph. See again, Kings chapter 9, verse 3. Yehovah said to him, I have heard your prayers and the supplication which you have offered to me. I consecrate this house which you have built, and I have set my name there forever. My eyes and my heart shall forever be there. This is why we always direct our prayers in that direction, because his presence will always be in that direction. Whether or not the temple stands or not, that's where his presence is. And that's why Jews, all throughout history, people mock Israel, the Jews, for going to the Temple Mount and crying and praying. Because that's the source. When they're there at the Temple Mount, it is emotional. It's powerful. So that's what I want you to understand. A lot of people say, well, what are these Jews, psychopaths, are crying and babbling and praying to a wall? No, we're not praying to a wall. You're seeing Scripture telling us where to direct our prayer. So when you're there, in the presence of where Yehovah said his presence will always be, it is powerful, it is emotional, it is important. I just wanted to state that, just so you know. Let's look at another example of prayer. Nehemiah chapter 1, verse 6 and verse 11. Verse 6, let your ear be attentive and your eyes open to receive the prayer, tefillat, of your servant, that I am praying to you now, day and night, on behalf of the Israelites, your servants, confessing the sins that we Israelites have committed against you, sins that I and my father's house have committed. Okay? Now when it says servant, we see the same thing in Isaiah chapter 43. Israelites, Israel, are the servant. We see that in chapter 43 of Isaiah, verse 10. You are my witnesses, plural, and my servant, singular. Just wanted to point that out. Verse 11. Yehovah, let your ear be attentive to the prayer, tefillat, of your servant, and to the prayer, tefillat, of your servants who desire to hold your name in awe. Grant your servant success today, and dispose that man to be compassionate toward him. I was the king's cupbearer at the time. Here Nehemiah offers his prayer to Yehovah directly. Here's Nehemiah chapter 11, verse 17. Mataniah, son of Micah, son of Zabdi, son of Asaph, was the head at prayer, la tefillah, in Hebrew. He would lead off with praise. One of his brothers was his second in command, Abda, son of Shammua, son of Galal, son of Jeduthun. Here we see that the prayer was led off with praise. It was done primarily as part of the temple worship. Let's look at another example. Isaiah chapter 1, verse 15. This is God speaking. This is when God was castigating and ridiculing Israel for their two-facedness, where they were so Torah observant, so righteous in their own mind, giving sacrifices, doing their prayers, but God was saying in great anger that you guys were, yes, very Torah observant on the outside, but on the inside you were rotten. But that's not the point that I'm going to be reading here. The point is the word prayer. I will turn my eyes away. God is saying, I'm going to turn my face away, my eyes away from you. And when you prayer at length, ki tarbu, tefillah, prayer at length, long prayers. All these long, bumbling prayers, which are meaningless to God because they were not doing anything for the stranger, for the orphan, the widow, and so on. So he's saying, I'm going to turn my face from your prayer. I don't care about how long your prayer is, how many books you read with your prayers. I'm not going to listen to it. He goes on and he goes off on them. I will not listen. Your hands are stained with blood. While the text reflects the prayers given in a negative light, like I mentioned, the actions support that they would have done. They lifted their hands up in praying at length, or lift up your hands saying many prayers. So we see here a great example that Israelites would lift up their prayers when praying. We do see prostration as well. Moses, we see it Abraham, all the prophets as well, prostrated, full prostration. This is why Karaites, we do full prostration of prayer. It's very important. Whereas our Orthodox brothers and sisters, they do more of a rocking. And every, it's certain holy days, they will do a full prostration. I'm not saying they never do. But we do it on a regular basis because we have to follow strictly what Tanakh says. So that is more a Talmudic tradition. We follow only the Tanakh, only the Hebrew Scriptures. Isaiah chapter 38, verses 1 through 5. In those days, Hezekiah fell dangerously ill. The prophet Isaiah, son of Amos, came and said to him, Thus says Yehovah, set your affairs in order, for you are going to die. You will not get well. Verse 2, thereupon Hezekiah turned his face to the wall and prayed, Veyit Palel. And he says to Yehovah, Please, Yehovah, he said, remember how I have walked before you sincerely and wholeheartedly, and have done what is pleasing to you. And Hezekiah wept profusely. It's okay to pour your heart out and weep to God. Pour your heart out. Cry out to him. Full prostration. Bow. Put your hands up. So we see here weeping, emotional, a broken and contrite heart. We see this in the book of Proverbs. This is what God wants of us. He wants us to pour our hearts out to him. He also is a revealer of secret things. We see in Jeremiah chapter 33, verse 3. He says there, call to me, meaning in prayer. Call to me, and I will answer you and show you wonderful things, secrets you did not know. So therefore, Elohim is saying, call to me, my son or my daughter, and I will show you wonderful things, secrets you did not know. Reveal things. That's why the more you study, the more you treasure the Hebrew Scriptures, study intently. Every time you open it, you will learn something new. It never stops. So he says that he walked sincerely. He begging, crying his heart out. Everything done pleasing to you. And he wept profusely. In verse 4, then the word of Yehovah came to Isaiah in verse 5 here. Go and tell Hezekiah, thus says Yehovah, the Elohim of your father David, I have heard your prayer, and I have seen your tears. I want this to hit you hard, because Elohim, the Creator, our Father, Abba, he answered Hezekiah. He said, I've heard your prayers, and I've heard your tears. I felt your tears. If that doesn't hit you in the heart, nothing will. I've seen your tears. I hereby add 15 years to your life, where Hezekiah turned his face to the wall. Since he was in Jerusalem, the direction of his prayer was where he was, towards the wall. He was there. He was supposed to die. Some people will say, well, God's not going to answer my prayers. He's not going to add life. He doesn't do that kind of thing. That's why he's not going to do it. If you don't believe in the prayer that you're praying, if you don't pour your heart out to Elohim, of course it's not going to happen. Of course he's not going to bless you. You have to know that Elohim, not faith, knowing that Elohim is in control of all things. He gave you the breath of life today, this day, that you're breathing for a reason. Like I mentioned in my other video, it's very important you understand. Every single day that you wake up with breath is an opportunity for you, all of you watching right now, an opportunity and a reason. A lot of people die in their sleep. They don't wake up. You're here for a reason today. I'm here for a reason. Maybe I'll die tomorrow. We all, every time we breathe and have a new day of life, we have to make it matter. It's very, very important. It does matter. It never doesn't matter. Ever. Let's take a look at one last example. So I don't want to do overkill here, but I think you get the point. Pour your heart out to God. Don't feel shame. Don't feel uncertain. You have to be sure of yourself and your prayer. You are connecting. For example, we call someone long distance, right? We have this incredible technology where we can call, even in other countries, all over the earth. Call people, direct line. Elohim gives us a direct line to Him. The only person that's listening is Him. There is no spying and all this stuff that's going on with phones. You have a direct line with God. There's no mediator. A direct line. He says this in Psalms chapter 148. I am close to all those who call upon me in righteousness, in truth. So therefore, He wants us to call on Him. Let's take a look at one last example. Jeremiah chapter 11, verse 14. As for you, do not pray titpalel for this people. Do not raise a cry of prayer on their behalf, for I will not listen when they call to me on account of their evil. So therefore, Elohim does listen to the prayer of those who really mean it, who are righteous, who are doing what they must do. But the wicked, like we saw in Isaiah chapter 1, if you want a great example of what the prayers He doesn't listen to, read Isaiah chapter 1. That's the wrong way to live. Yes, the Israelites were totally Torah observant, but they were being two-faced. They were all show and nothing inside. Hollow on the inside. Everything else was raising their hands, giving sacrifices. Life couldn't have been better for them. But yet they were hollow. They were ugly on the inside. So here again, the example. I'm not going to listen to them because of their sins. One last example. One more. Daniel chapter 9, verse 3, verse 17, and verse 21. Listen to this. Daniel, you want to learn how to pray? Listen to Daniel in chapter 9. Chapter 9, verse 3. I turned my face to Yehovah Elohim, meaning he directed his prayer to Elohim, Yehovah, devoting myself to prayer, tefillah in Hebrew again, and supplication and fasting in sackcloth and ashes. Now, it doesn't mean that, remember, if you read chapter 9 of Daniel, he is doing this because of the sin of the nation. Therefore, that's why he's going over with this, with sackcloth and ashes. Doesn't mean you have to put ashes on you and all this stuff. This is specifically for the guilt, for all the evil that Israel had done. This is what he was doing here. So I don't want you to get fooled into thinking that this is what you do every single time. No, but the point is that you pour your heart out to God. If you feel guilty, show Him. It does matter. Verse 4, I prayed to Yehovah Elohim, making confession. Thus, Yehovah great and awesome. He's speaking here. This is the actual prayer. Yehovah great and awesome Elohim, who stays faithful to His covenant, to those who love Him and keep His mitzvot, His commandments. O Eloheinu, hear now the prayer, tefillat, the prayer of your servant and his plea, and show your favor to your desolate sanctuary, the Temple Mount, which was a disaster. For Yehovah's sake, verse 18, incline your ear, O my Elohim, and hear. Open your heart and see our desolation, our destruction, and the city to which your name is attached. Not because of any of our merit do we lay our plea before you, but because of your abundant mercies. Verse 19, Yehovah hear, Yehovah forgive, Yehovah listen, and act without delay for your own sake. He's trying to tell him, because look at us, the temple's destroyed, look where we're at, this is going to look bad on you for your own sake, forget about us. Do it for your sake and your city and the name that is attached to you, to your city and your people. Verse 20, while I was speaking, praying, and confessing my sin and the sin of my people Israel. Remember, Daniel 9. This is the focus of Daniel 9. It's not about a Messiah dying. On behalf of the holy mountain. The prayer was for the Temple Mount destruction. He wanted to go back to Jerusalem to rebuild the temple. I have a video on that as well, Daniel 9. I was uttering my prayer, umit palel, and the man Gabriel, whom I had previously seen in a vision, was sent forth in flight and reached me about the time of the evening offering. Here we see Daniel praying, and while at prayer, he would sometimes have visions. Also, Daniel would pray at the time of the evening offering. So, we see that prayer is very, very important. There are many other examples here, but I don't want to make too long of a video. The point I'm trying to make here, pour your heart out to God. Cry to Him. Whatever you're feeling, don't hold back. Your Abba, your Father, you who's watching, every single one of you, your Father wants to hear from you. It's your personal prayer with your Father. All of us, Israelite or not, we are all created in the image of Elohim. He is listening. So every one of us have our own way of praying and pouring our heart out to Elohim. There is no wrong way to prayer, meaning pouring our heart out. I don't mean like a form of actual bowing or this or that. I'm talking about expressing with our words, with our emotions. Our prayer with our Elohim, with our Father, is a private conversation, a connection just between you and Him. It's a beautiful, personal, private, and very special relationship, communication with the Creator, our Elohim, our Father, our Abba. So therefore, it is very, very vital that this is a daily prayer and supplication that we have, and a connection with our Father every single day. Shalom.